So, most recent Book of Boba Fett uh, episode was at episode 6. Um, it's interesting because, as a whole, I'll just put it out there. I liked it. There's a ton of cool stuff in it, a ton of cool stuff. But I think it suffers from two things, and it's more about the structure of the show as a whole. Number one, that was like two, three different episodes of stuff going on in one episode. Number one. Number two, as much of as a lot of it I really liked, it shouldn't be in the Book of Boba Fett. All right. I love the fact we see Luke. I love the fact we see Luke doing some training with Grogu. I love that we see Ahsoka. I love that we see Ahsoka and Luke together, and it was a really sort of calming, kind of groovy interaction. And I like that. That was cool. Problem is the way that they're treating attachments. They're going back almost to the George Lucas not understanding the fundamental meaning of the word attachment in like Taoism or Buddhism. And it's not like attachment to things or people, it's attachment to the thoughts and the feelings and those things you determining are you, sort of thing. So attachment in this case isn't like, oh, he's attached, Grogu's attached to the Mandalorian and then he can't progress with that. No, that's not accurate to the philosophies that they're borrowing from. It wasn't accurate, 45 years ago, when Star Wars came out. It's not accurate now. And if they had been sort of consistent with that, that'd be one thing. But when you go and look at especially Rebels and the end of Clone Wars, those show a more evolved and more sort of in line with the actual philosophy's idea about, do or do not, there is no try, about attachment and about all those other stuff. It's like, yes, you're still going to have these relationships. You still might have preferences. That doesn't mean that you're still going to be, identifying with those things in your mind and in your heart. So those are different things. And it's almost like philosophically, they took a step back. As much as they've been trying to kind of bleed some stuff from Legends, the old books and stuff before Disney bought everything and like threw everything out. As much as they're trying to take stuff from Legends, I don't think Legends Luke would have sat there and made Grogu choose between the little, I almost called it mithril shirt, the little Beskar chainmail and the lightsaber. You have to do one of these others, and that's it. You can't do both. I don't think Legends Luke would have done that. And if they're trying to sort of ease off some of the way, like the sequels were, and ease into some more accurate stuff, I think they're doing a disservice to Force users, definitely to Luke, definitely to the Jedi, and even kind of having Ahsoka in line with that idea of attachment as well, I think is also incorrect with where her character went, at the end of Clone Wars, in Rebels, and maybe to a certain extent even with her episode in The Mandalorian. So as much as stuff on it was cool and neat and I liked it, there was almost a philosophical problem that I had with the way they're treating some of this. And maybe it's because they're trying to make it fit in with the sequel, the disasters that the sequel turned into, especially Rise of Skywalker. Maybe they're trying to force fit their ideas in with what they want to do into that and it's maybe not doing so well, or maybe they're also have an incorrect idea what the actual philosophy should be. I don't know, but as much as I liked it, as much as it was cool, but no, let me go the other way around. So there were some of the philosophical problems that I have that I feel they fixed or did different kind of better things with in the previous sort of Filoniverse stuff, that I think they're almost retconning incorrectly in this show. Now, my other sort of problem is just the structure of the episode. And I mean, I'm always going to be in Dave Filoni's corner, especially with Star Wars. And he started off in Avatar Last Airbender, went into Star Wars, and he's amazing, and I love him. The structure of this episode was very bad. It wasn't structured, almost. You know, seeing Timothy Oliphant's Marshall in there and have him be like a freaking awesome cowboy marshal with the Pike Syndicate was great. I love seeing that. I think it's a great idea that, okay, if you are pulling in Mando, that he goes and has the marshal and stuff help out too. Using the whole town might be a bit much, but at least pulling in the marshal in with that too is a good idea. I mean, other than the fact like Timothy Oliphant as that sort of cowboy thing is great. You know, the sort of much more Zen version of Deadwood sort of thing is cool. And he's got like a really great vibe with that. And so that's good. But I mean, it's Book of Boba Fett, and Boba Fett was in it for like 3 seconds. And it's Mando's the one that has to go and talk to people to get them their thing. There's one scene with Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, one. And it's, you know, it's basically just there to set up Din going off and doing something else. And having relationship building with other characters from his show. You know, the only thing that really happened in the whole episode that really progresses the story for the Book of Boba Fett is the bombing of, I forget Jennifer Beals' character, her Twilight characters, her casino bar. The Pikes basically bombing that was the only thing that really progressed the story for Book of Boba Fett. You know, but then again, seeing the figure come out of the desert up to the marshal, and I admit it took me a second because I think part of it was because I wasn't expecting it. But then I saw the hat. I'm like, holy shit, it's Cad Bane. And then it comes in and you hear the voice and you see the sort of like flat mouth. And it's like, holy shit, that's Cad Bane. And he comes up and, you know, he's the red eyes, the no nose, and you hear it. A little paler than I would have thought. But he's working for the Syndicate. And the really tense standoff is like, you know, we'll pay off. It's like, oh, no. When Cad Bane pulls his coat back when they're about to show down, I was like, holy shit. I mean, I was like big eyes watching like, holy shit. Like I had some tinglies up the spine and I knew the deputy was going to screw things up. He did. I'm really hoping Marshal Timothy Oliphant isn't. And like that whole thing will help the marshal the town to be able to help out eventually with Mando and Boba Fett and Fennec. So like I said, there were really good moments. And there's a lot of stuff that they're really connecting a lot of dots and making sure the universe is sort of canoned through from, you know, Clone Wars and Rebels into this. So there's a lot of dots connected. There's a lot of really awesome moments. I think everyone does a really good job in it. So it's a coin toss episode for me because there's a lot that I liked, but I think structurally as an episode and structurally as they've been doing the season, I don't agree that those are wise choices. I think the show is suffering from like the first 4 episodes, people were just bagging on bad. I'm all like, chill out. Like you've got to get, this stuff. I mean, it's not even an origin story, but it's sort of pseudo origin story, and how he wants to set himself up and continue. And as much as I love The Mandalorian and as much as I love that sort of content, I think it's almost like making the show jump the shark. Because, like, oh crap, we effed up and we didn't do too well with Boba Fett. So we'll throw Mando in there and make him really important. And then we are going to show Grogu and Luke and Ahsoka and all this other stuff. And it's try-harding. It's try-harding, I don't know what they're trying to do with the show. And that's not helpful because it makes it confusing. So if the book of Boba Fett, I remember them saying it's basically Mandalorian 2.5. If they were going to do that, then it needed to have been probably not called Book of Boba Fett or something like that, but they needed to bring Din in the beginning, not throw him in after you've got 4 episodes in the can. And almost, because it looks like you're just expecting that whole part to save the show. So if you really wanted a Mandalorian 2.5, then Din needed to show up earlier and make it a more balanced version of the story between the two of them, or those two sort of stories going together and then coming through. So you make it like in The Witcher, you've got like sort of series storyline in season 1 and Geralt's storyline season 2, and then they merge. So maybe they could have done something like that in the earlier episodes, maybe starting in episode 2 instead of 5, bringing in Mandalorian, making that more of a actual Mandalorian 2.5, as opposed to, it's supposed to be Book of Boba Fett, but we're going to throw this in later on too. So structurally, not great. I mean, I want to see where it's going on. I'm looking forward to it. I almost have like this weird sort of excited ambivalence because I'm looking forward to what happens and I like all the characters and I like in general what they're doing with the story. The way they're telling it, I have a real problem with. And as much as I love seeing Ahsoka anyway, let alone interact with Luke, even if it's a short conversation, as much as I love seeing sort of Luke hopefully getting more of his due, and as much as I love seeing the training and montages and stuff like that, philosophically, I think they're taking a huge step backwards. So, episode 6 of Book of Boba Fett, mixed success. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the show. I'm hoping things tie in together. And when you look back over a larger scope of the show as a whole, it's tighter than it feels right now. Anyway, so that's all I got. Like, subscribe, all that good groovy stuff. Talk at you later.